Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the masterclass. Ignite your heart, open up your heart, and create a love that lasts. Today, I'm very excited. I have Jeanne with me. As you can see, she is already fabulous. So, Jeanne, welcome to the masterclass. Thank you for being here. And for those of us who don't know you, we would love an introduction and a little bit about what you do.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It's so great to reconnect with you. I'm the soulmate coach. So I help singles, usually highly empathic, successful women, but some men as well, who have trouble receiving and are attracting a lot of draining relationships. I help them step into their sovereignty, become more of a leader in their love life and open up to love, let down their guard that they're afraid to let go of, so that they can receive a partner who really supports and elevates them. And I'm also the author of Be the Soulmate You Want to Attract. So I'm a dating coach who coaches through the lens of law of attraction. So I'd love to dive into that with you as well.
Yes, I'm so excited because you're uh everything that you share, I resonate with. There's so much about being open. This is why it's called Open Your Heart, being open to receiving love, but also what is the law of attraction and how can we actually attract a love that lasts?
Well, with law of attraction, what's really interesting is a lot of people think that all they have to do is get a clear picture of what they want and focus on it, and it will manifest. It doesn't really quite work that way. That's an important piece of it, is to figure out what you want to manifest. But the most important part is A, you have to get yourself into the vibration of having it. So you have to raise your vibration to align with what you want to manifest. And B, you also have to allow, there's a law of allowing that goes with it. You have to learn how to allow it to come to you and not try to force it to happen. Does that make sense?
Was your own personal story through the law of attraction, and can you share it?
Absolutely. It's a pretty powerful one. And I love it when I'm asked to share it, because if there's anyone listening out there who has been told they're too much, they're too fat, they're too old, they're too strong, and then you're going to have to settle or tone yourself down, listen in, because it's absolutely not true. You have to just really believe in yourself. And that's part of the work I do, is to help people to do that. But before I got to the point where I could help people to do that, I had to learn how to do it for myself. So when I was, before I found my husband, I was 300 pounds. I was in middle life, when a lot of people say, oh God, there's like, your dating pool is a tiny puddle. So I had a lot of scarcity thinking. I had a lot of people telling me I needed to tone myself down because I had an intimidating job. I had a strong personality. They said, you're just big. Your energy is really big. It's intimidating. And so what was interesting is, it throughout my life, I developed, because of being told these kinds of things. You're too much. No one's going to want you. It's going to be hard for you to find a partner. I was told that for many, many years. So I started to develop this belief system that it just wasn't possible for me. And so as a result, I started to attract people to me that reflect my limited belief system. I started to attract people who wouldn't show up for me, couldn't give me what I wanted, didn't think I was enough, or thought I was too much and would abandon me, all these things. So when I finally hit rock bottom, with realizing that this all started with me, it wasn't just rotten luck, it wasn't the crappy dating pool, it was my own belief system and my own vibration. So I took a couple of years off. I learned how to love myself. I learned what I needed, what I deserved. I did things that scared me. I got my life in order. I launched a business that scared me. It was wildly successful. And I developed like a higher vibration. I started to show up, step into my sovereignty in my own life. And when I put myself back out in the dating pool, I had, I was really surprised. I thought I was going to attract my husband right away, but I started to attract um, 25-year-old guys. And I became like this accidental cougar. And it was so funny to me because I did not look like what you see on TV as a cougar. But these guys were attracted. And I asked them, I said, what brought you my way? And they all said it was some variation of, you look really fun, drama free. You look like you don't want to marry me or have my babies, like women my age. And really the translation, I had to be honest with myself. And I said, my profile was written from scarcity. After all this work I had done, it was written from scarcity. I was trying to appeal to everyone by being easy breezy, not asking for too much, but I was projecting confidence and self-love at the same time. So we can sometimes live in two different vibrations, which is why sometimes we can manifest a great career, but in our love life, we're showing up with a different vibration. So I decided I better rewrite my profile. And what I decided to do was really lean into the scarcity, become not so afraid of scaring some people away with my unapologetic authenticity. So I started putting stuff about wanting a guy who would take me to drag shows. I started talking about, my dream man will appreciate my curves like I do. My dream man is going to, and then I had a list of things. I included my deal breakers. I included what I wanted somebody to receive from me. And I wrote it in a really juicy way and I posted it. And that night when I posted it, I said, okay, I'm just going to let go of the how and the when, but I know this is coming. And I just focused on the vision. I savored the feeling of having it and let it go. And then the very next day, the universe said, okay, girl, here you go. And it brought me not only my husband, but three other guys who were all my age. All were fascinated by my profile and what I had to say. And all of them took me out. But I only married one of them.
Wow. And so I'm hearing a couple of things. First is raising your own vibration because you want to be an energetic match for what you want to call in. And if
Mhm.
you're in the space of lack and scarcity and not feeling good about yourself and who you are, you're going to attract the same, a mirror of people who are going to reflect back to you your scarcity, your not good enoughness. And
Mhm.
on the other hand, I'm hearing once you got to the other side, there's also that balance of having not being okay with not being for everybody, like being okay with embracing
Yeah.
everything about you and also what you're looking for, not just people pleasing or like opening yourself up to everyone and anything that comes your way.
Absolutely. And I think what people mostly need help with, which I just organically, I'm sure I was helped from up there with my guides, but it's the unapologeticness of the authenticity that people need help with. A lot of people who come to me are kind of projecting this apologetic energy, like for their largeness of their personality or whatever it is they think other people won't like or will find intimidating. And I have to help them because that's what creates the doubt in our energy field. That's what causes the I'm not enough in our energy field. So it's letting all of that go and learning self-acceptance and learning to trust ourselves again. What happens is a lot of my clients have attract commitment phobes and narcissists. And the commitment phobes are usually show up when we ourselves are ambivalent, usually because we're highly empathic and have put others first too many times in our lives and don't 100% feel aligned with taking that risk again. And others are empaths who attract narcissists because they have they have been empaths without any boundaries, or really shaky boundaries. And it made them a target for narcissists who don't have any empathy and have caused them to doubt themselves even more through manipulation. So, all of those things help lower our vibration. And so, my job is to help people to recover, forgive themselves, recover their limiting beliefs, and transform them so they can learn and remember who they really are and what they deserve so they can align with a healthy love.
Mm. You know how sometimes in the process you don't actually know because you've been giving yourself to other people for so long. So would you say like part of being able to attract a soulmate is recreating your identity or like reconnecting to your true self? And
Yeah.
actually recommend that before you start to enter into another relationship.
Absolutely. And it's funny, you're reminding me too. Part of how I help clients is I help them to rebrand themselves. And because I have a marketing background, what I mean by that is that I help them, reclaim their power, reclaim their self love, their self acceptance, and then become unapologetically authentic so that they're projecting a confidence that really shows comfort in their skin and is really magnetic. When you really are unapologetic about who you really are, it's so magnetic, especially to the people who are meant to be in your life, meant to be your soulmates. And I think we have many of them. Some are friends, some are lovers, some are long term partners. And I think that, having, I lost my train of thought.
You were saying about how you bring your clients back into their authentic self and also
Yes.
rebranding them.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Menopause, honey, it's a bitch. So sometimes you just completely lose your thought. Anyway, so yeah, so I help them to, when they rewrite their profile, to put an unapologetic authenticity to it. And that means when you're writing it, really being clear about who you really are, what you're into, what you really want, what you really don't want, and letting go of the need to please everybody and try to appeal to the largest number of people, and only worry about your kindred spirits. Even if it's just like a few who show up, that's all you really need. You don't have to worry about pleasing everybody.
Mm. When you, well, one of the things that comes up is can you be too specific about what you want? And is that a limitation, right?
Yes, that's a really smart question because sometimes people will come to me with a list of like 30 things that they want in one person. And so part of the process is I help them to whittle down to what are the most important qualities this person must have for you to be in a harmonious relationship with them. And, you know, because some of the things that you're looking for in one person, it's not realistic, and it really restricts the universe ability to deliver it to you because no one person has all these things. And it's okay. I help clients to understand it's okay to get some of those other needs met in friends. other types of friends and other kinds of relationships. You don't have to have all of that. But it's so important. And most people don't have the clarity when they're dating. They are focusing much more on what we call the neuroscience of making their dating decisions, which is driven by hormones. People are really s- reacting to, physical attraction, um, a kind of chemistry that generates excitement, but is really more anxiety. It's really more of the primitive part of our brains that's choosing that person. That's like another hour long discussion about what's causing that. But what I try to help people do is just to not seek that excitement, and instead f- focus on what the priorities are and screen based on that, and not to be so swayed by that excitement that some people will generate in us. Because if we're honest, those people who generate that Zaza Zoo, like that's like the energy that's leading the connection.
Yeah.
Those are not usually the people who wind up sticking with us. um, so soulmate connections, though, tend to be calmer. They tend to be not exciting. However, we're so brainwashed to think that means that we're settling, that we often can overlook a soulmate connection. But in Buddhism, they're all about, that message that, your soulmates will feel like you're coming home, like you can be completely yourself. You don't have to suck in your stomach. You don't have to be playing with your hair. You don't have to worry about the light being on when you have sex, because your soulmates, they just accept you. It's not that you don't ever have contrast, because the contrast, we need that contrast to grow as a couple. But they just accept and love you as you are. And we don't have to worry so much. And that relaxation that comes with it, that leads to a different kind of passion that's deeper and much longer lasting.
Oh my goodness. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's exactly what it feels like when you're in that like state of chemistry and if it's triggered by anxiety because I had this same problem in my relationship too. I realized, well, why am I having these repetitive patterns and it's always hot and cold in the relationship? And when I did the deeper work, I realized, oh, this is actually repeating patterns from my past and my experiences in childhood and how I experienced love, and it wasn't consistent, and I preferred not having consistency because that was all I knew. And even though I had a very stable relationship at the time right in front of my face, and we've been dating for so long, and I was non-committed. I was like, I don't know, I'm excited by this other one, I don't know what true love is. And it was only after I went through my own personal healing that I realized this is what real love feels like. Real love doesn't feel like all this high energy and excitement all the time and that push and pull of, oh my God, does he love me? And if he gives me attention, I'm so enamored and I'm just like, yay, he loves me. Real consistency. And I
Hmm.
looked at this. I had an opportunity to open my eyes and actually look at my stable relationship and how he has shown up for me throughout those 10 years of dating over and over and over again. I remember the times, gosh, we met in middle school. So in high school, I moved to high school. I'm a year older than him. So I went to high school and he was still in middle school. And I said, oh no, I feel like we need to break up because, I'm not going to see you anymore. And I want to I want to date other people. And he refused. He rode his bike. He woke up 2 hours early because back then middle school was 2 hours earlier than high school. He woke up 2 hours earlier, or it's the other way around. High school was way earlier than middle school. And he would bike all the way to my house to walk me 10 minutes down the street to school every single day. And then when we graduated and we both got adult jobs, he had the night shift as a police officer, and I had the day shift working at a call center. He would come to me to have lunch with me every single day, or at least every
Wow.
opportunity. If I didn't say like, oh, I'm in a meeting or we can't do it today, every
Yeah.
single day for 2 years, and it was that kind of consistency over and over and over again. And that safety and security he gave me whenever I felt like I need you to call me like right now. And he would actually pick up the phone and call me, right? It's that consistent showing that he cares, that consistent display of, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Yeah. That's really amazing. And I think what you were touching on too is that we're really socialized to have really dramatic relationships, that without that drama, it's not exciting. And I think part of our mission is to teach people not to seek that excitement, because that's just romance. And that excitement in relationships lasts, that physical excitement lasts about 18 months.
Oh.
So it's just important to prioritize other things. And, when I say that, a lot of times clients will say, oh, but Jeanne, I don't want to give up the spark. And I said, well, just imagine if you're with somebody who really you can just completely relax with, imagine how nice it would be to be naked with somebody in more ways than one and be completely accepted. How much more satisfying and deep is the pleasure? And they're like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. And I said, well, it's something worth contemplating, because I'd like you to experience what I have. And you're not settling me on anything. Trust me.
That's the real beauty of it. Gosh, I remember going through pregnancy and gaining like a whole lot of weight. And
Yeah.
my husband's like, "Oh, you look beautiful. I don't even, it's okay." Like, but I was so hard on myself. And
Hmm.
it's just being able to not have to fear like, oh, if I change, if I gain weight, if I do something wrong, that the other person isn't going to love you.
Exactly. And I remember my whole life, I had people remarking about how, because I was pear shaped, and how my legs were really thick and chunky, right? And so I had people were always commenting on my legs, not in a not nice way. And what was so remarkable to me is, before I actually physically met my husband, Todd, we were talking on the phone for about 2 months. We were having lovely, like, talks all night long. And then when we were finally able to meet the night before we were meeting, he said, we were just having a playful chat. And he said, well, I'm more of like a leg man. And I went, well, I love my legs, but I'm not what most guys would consider when they think of a woman with legs like that, that it would appeal to a leg man. And he goes, why? And I said, well, they're they're shorter, they're thicker, they're strong. And he goes, sounds really hot. And so for him, like, he liked thick legs. It had never, ever occurred to me that any man would like my legs. I was always trying to hide them with pants, never wore shorts ever, you know. And it was so amazing to have that be one of his favorite things about me, you
Oh.
know. I just want people to know that there are people out there who will love your body, you know. I think you just have to first at least come to accept your body and to appreciate it, even if you don't necessarily love it, you know. Otherwise, I think you attract people who will put your body down. I think most of the men in my life prior to that, before I accepted myself, and part of how I accepted my body was I did belly dancing to feel more empowered and beautiful in my body. But before that, I had men always going, oh, you have such a pretty face. How much weight are you going to lose? you know,
Right.
and that's happened to a lot of people. And I just want you to know, don't give up. Just trust that those people who can really love you, all of you the way you are, shadow and light, they are out there. You just have to believe and trust the process.
Mm. I 100% agree that like love is not always external either. There's so many people who fall in love with a person because it's what's in their heart and not what's like on the outside. Because if everybody looked like models, we would we would be a dying species.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And it really is about, and sometimes that I have to help people get over that feeling that they need to have somebody who meets certain physical standards in order to feel good about themselves. I
Mm.
get that a lot. And I have to help people to understand, is that really going to make you happy? Is it going to really make you feel satisfied in a relationship? When, if you're in a pandemic and being behind closed doors with this person where you're not showing them off to the world, are you going to be able to be in that intimate space with that person and be really happy? And the answer was no, not unless that person just happened to fortunately have all the qualities that of a soulmate that they needed. But I think you're right. It's just really important to let that go.
The that was something that just popped up too. I remember one of my clients, she said, "Oh, well, I want my man to enjoy um, uh, I forgot what it was. It was like enjoy arts, like creativity or arts." And as I was tuning in, I kind of got the message that said, "No, that's actually what you want. That's not what he like. It's you projecting something that you want onto the person that you want to call in, but it's not something that's going to be important in your relationship because you can fulfill that yourself. It doesn't have to be, if he doesn't have to have that particular quality for you to enjoy him." And so exactly like you said, is it something that's a deal breaker or like something that you have to have in the other person?
Exactly. That is really insightful because, like, for example, my husband said that before he met me, he was really, because he comes from a science background, but also a music background. So he's very smart on both sides of his brain. And he said that one of his dreams at the time, well before he met me, he kept looking for women who were like, had a musical ability.
Yeah.
Um, he said, because my fantasy was I was going to jam with them, and we were going to have like, oh, we would be able to do all these things together. And every single time he tried that, something terrible would happen. And then he met me, and I had no musical ability. I could sing a little bit, but what I did have is a real appreciation for his gifts. And I wanted to support his gifts. I went to all of his concerts.
Oh,
And so I think what I try to help clients realize is you don't really need to have somebody have all the same interests as you do or all the same gifts and talents. You just need somebody who supports yours.
yes.
And
Oh,
you give the universe much bigger room to send you a good person.
that is so true. I actually wrote an email about that today because I said, we're busting some myths in relationships today. And I said, I used to want that. I wanted somebody who was ambitious to build a whole business with, and we were going to take over the world. And then I look at the qualities of my husband right now, complete opposite. He's an introvert. He's family oriented. He wants to just stay home, lay low, do like I find it boring, but he loves going fishing where you basically sit there in silence with the pole, right? And he
Mhm.
loves those things or cars and he likes action movies. I'm the complete opposite. I get up and go. I want to go to the park. I go. I want to be outside. I talk to my friends for like 3 hours on the phone. I
Hmm.
do these things online. I host shows. I like to be on camera. Um, and that's not him at all. He doesn't want to
Hmm.
be on camera. Um,
Yeah.
we, and it works. It works for us. And he's completely opposite, but it works.
I feel like in those situations, those kinds of relationships, it's just bringing each other into balance. And I could see why it works for that reason. It's like, what a great family unit you are because of that, because you're both bringing both energies into the relationship ecosystem, really. And I think that's why you're going to have healthy kids, because you're going to have both energies going on. You're going to have like the real extrovert, big power person in the world. And then you're going to have the person back home who's like happy to be at home and, you know, supporting your being out in the world and not being as worried about traditional gender norms, which is a beautiful gift. And I have that with my husband as well. Like there are certain ways that I'm just more masculine and out in the world than he is. And there are ways where he's more in touch with his feminine than I am, and it just works. It just, it's absolutely fantastic. And so, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's just not, we don't need to find somebody who's exactly like us. It's just, it is helpful to have the same values and the same vision for the future, but you don't have to be like carbon copies of each other. I
Mhm.
get a lot of questions about twin flames.
Oh yeah, you want to
And
talk?
I don't, the thing is, I'm not an expert in twin flames by any means. But the twin flame relationships people have described to me have sounded really awful, like very um, like they're just too alike, and it's very dramatic and very there's usually something that happens that's very traumatic between them. At least the stories that I've heard.
Right.
And so, for me, having heard these, and I am fully admitting that I don't know enough about them, but I have heard so many stories like that it really has helped me come to the conclusion that it's just better to have a lot of differences between you so that you can help bring each other into balance.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing your perspective. I used to think that my karmic relationship was twin flame towards the end because I was like, why are you keep coming back into my life and triggering me and uh forcing me to heal essentially? It's not really a
Yeah, yeah,
like, it was
yeah.
giving me an opportunity to heal. And somehow I also projected that as huge gratitude. Um and it was good because it was a grateful experience, but also noticing that I had to let go, that it wasn't healthy for me.
Yeah, that's the thing I've heard about most of from I've heard from people about their relationships. And you bring up a good point about it, because I do believe a lot of the soulmates, twin flame or not, who come into our lives, they're not meant always to be there for a long time. Sometimes they're there to, sometimes, frankly, to create a certain amount of trauma so that you will wake up
Mhm.
and have a stronger desire for something better. It activates your desire. Abraham Hicks talks a lot about how we just hate contrast so much, but she says, stop trying to fight it so much, because you really need contrast in order to manifest your dream life. And the reason for that is, if you didn't have the contrast, you wouldn't be motivated, you wouldn't feel activated to desire something much greater. If
Mhm.
I didn't have all those men that I chose who broke my heart, made me feel terrible about myself, um, I wouldn't have realized that I needed to love myself and not be looking for acceptance from outside of myself. And I wouldn't have dreamed of having a partner like I have now. I would never have conceived of that.
Yeah,
So you're right. It's important to be grateful, even for the ones who don't stick around. Maybe they're not meant to.
yeah, I agree. And it helps with the healing process a lot. To just have gratitude for all of your experiences, whether it's good or bad. Um,
Hmm.
Ultimately, it will lead you to something better. And that's just the trust, right? That's just the trust.
Yes,
That it doesn't matter where you are in your journey because you're always moving towards something better. It's magic. That's
100.
magic.
Very that. That's the magic of it all. I always tell people, please leave a little room for magic.
Mm.
When you were a little girl and you believed in magic, you have to have the willing suspension of disbelief like you do in theater. You have to give room for magic when manifesting what you want and not be so focused on, well, my rational mind tells me it's not likely, and focusing on your doubt and focusing on the lack of the happy relationship that you want or whatever it is you're trying to manifest. But if you can focus more on faith, believing, and really seeing it happening for you, it's a process, but everyone can get there.
Mhm.
They really can.
Well, thank you so much, Jeanne, for all your wisdom and your personal story too, because I find it extremely inspiring and
Oh,
knowledgeable.
thank you.
Before we end, would you like to share your free gift with us?
Yes. So I have recently updated my free Discover Your Biggest Love Block quiz. A lot of times people are really not sure why they're not getting the results they want in dating. And so I developed this quiz to help them figure out what's the main limiting belief or love block that's really getting in the way of them attracting the right people. So after people take the quiz, I will share some thoughts on how they can start shifting it. And if they feel like they want to get more support, then there's an invitation to book a free, no pressure call with me to talk about maybe if private coaching can help them really accelerate releasing their resistance so they can call in their partner faster.
Thank you so much for being here, Jeanne. Could you also share your website with us, just in case
Yes.
people want to reach out
Yes.
to you?
Absolutely. My website is mysoulmatecoach.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at My Soulmate Coach. So it's pretty easy to find me. And you can direct message me on any of those outlets. And I'm sure you'll put my little quiz link there as
Mhm.
well.